am Marianne from EFOB Art, and I almost walked past the studio that changed how I think about collecting entirely. It was up a side street above Sorrento, one of those narrow lanes that doesn't have a sign, doesn't have a reason to slow you down. I'd been walking for 20 minutes looking for somewhere specific, and I passed this door, and something about the light coming through the gap made me stop. I went in anyway. And leaning against the far wall in that sideways afternoon light was the best piece I had seen all year. Not the best piece I had seen in Sorrento. The best piece I had seen anywhere, in any gallery, at any price point, that entire year. The artist had never shown outside the region. Not because she wasn't extraordinary, because nobody had opened the door for her. And that is the thing about Southern Italian art that most buyers never figure out. The work is there. It has always been there. World-class, fully documented, sourced directly from artists who have spent their entire careers developing something genuinely singular and who have never had international representation. Not because the work didn't deserve it, because the system that creates international representation is not built around merit. It is built around relationships, geography, and access. And if you are not inside that system, it is almost impossible to see what is sitting just outside it. Here is what that gap actually costs you as a buyer. Galleries in Rome, in Milan, in Miami, in London, they fill the access gap and they charge accordingly. A piece that I can bring to you for $50,000, sourced directly from the artist, fully authenticated, with complete provenance documentation from the studio, becomes $150,000 once it clears that gallery system. Same artist, same canvas, same signature. The gap between those two numbers is not a reflection of the work's value. It is the gallery's business model, and it is entirely legal, entirely standard, and entirely avoidable if you know where to look. I want to be clear about something because I hear this question a lot. Buying outside the gallery system does not mean buying without protection. It means building the right protection yourself from the ground up before money changes hands. Authentication, provenance, condition reports, a clear chain of title from studio to your wall. Those are non-negotiable. Anyone who tells you the documentation can come later is not someone you should be buying from. The collectors who have gotten this right, the ones who are sitting on collections worth multiples of what they paid, they were rigorous about paperwork from day one. Not because they were afraid, because they understood that the documentation is part of the asset. The other thing those collectors share is a habit that sounds obvious, but almost nobody actually does. They go to the source repeatedly. They build their eye through direct, sustained, in-person exposure to real work in the studios where it was made, in the light it was made in. There is no substitute for this. You cannot develop genuine discernment from a JPEG. You cannot feel whether a piece has the kind of staying power that makes you want to live with it for 20 years by looking at it on a screen. The galleries know this. It is part of why the in-person experience they sell, the white walls, the curated lighting, the quiet, is worth something. But you do not need them to have that experience. You need access to the studios themselves. Southern Italy, specifically Campania, Calabria, parts of Puglia, is producing work right now that the international market has not caught up with yet. I say that not as a vague gesture toward potential. I say it because I have been in those studios. I have sat with the work. I have watched collectors who bought 5 years ago on relationships I helped build, and I have watched what happened to those pieces as the artists gained recognition in European markets. The window where you can buy ahead of that curve is not permanently open. It closes the moment a gallery in a major market decides the artist is worth the wall space. The last thing I want to say is this, because I think it is the most important and the most overlooked. Buy what you love. I know that sounds like a platitude. It is not. It is actually the most financially rational instruction I can give you. The collectors who have made the worst decisions, and I have seen plenty of them, bought what they thought the market wanted. They bought what sounded right at a dinner party. They bought to fill a wall. The collectors who built something real bought because they could not stop thinking about a piece, because living without it felt like an active loss. That instinct, when it is informed by genuine exposure to serious work, is the most reliable signal you have.